I want to paint, don't wanna feel no pain. What I've lost I'll gain. Wanna take a turn. Should I have learned that I've always been wrong? But I won't be for long, 'cause that's the way that life goes, right? You can't be wrong for your whole life. You can simply get stuck in the darkness and muck, and you're just shit out of luck. Could that possibly be the case? Can you stop making the same mistakes? Can you stop constantly being afraid and be proud of the things you make? Will the doubt cease to occupy the space? Will your mind allow a positive embrace? I do believe that could be the case.
I'm here with Julie Odell, singer-songwriter out of New Orleans. Julie and I go pretty far back. She's actually my sister. But as much as I've been around all her music and enjoyed it, there's still a lot that I don't know. So we're going to have a little discussion with her and see if we can't find out where the music came from and where it's going. Julie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, my brother.
So to start, I guess, how'd you get into music? Where did it all start?
Well, when we moved to South Louisiana, and I guess I was starting junior high at the time. You were starting high school. You had been in high school. Okay. But yeah, we moved to a new place, and I'd always played soccer and was on track and all the sportsy things. And when we moved to South Louisiana, I didn't really know anyone. So music had always been around because our parents play music and always were playing music around the house. But I guess as a coping mechanism to deal with not knowing anyone, started writing songs on our upright piano.
So of course after that, I got to see it go through all kind of stages. I guess at the beginning you were in high school time doing vocals and some piano, some solo guitar sets, getting on with different bands, and eventually your own little orchestra performance recently at Marigny Opera House. How did kind of your evolution happen between all that, and where is it now? Where do you see it going?
Okay, yeah. So I guess it all started out with me playing the piano and writing sad, angsty teenager songs. And then that developed into, I was in a band called Giant Cloud, playing the roads, and we toured around for a while and made a record, and then that band ended, and then I started figuring out how to play the guitar because it was a lot more portable than like hauling an 88 key keyboard around by myself everywhere with a huge amp. So that kind of like restarted music for me because I had to learn an instrument and figure out how to write songs on that instrument. And then started playing guitar songs and had a band called Pretty Wild Yellow. It was like a 7-piece with strings and woodwinds and full band kind of deal. And then that ended. And then I kind of went off on my own for a little while, went on tour playing synthesizer with Givers, who are from Lafayette. and they're good friends of mine now, and or have always been. But and now that I've had all these songs that I've been dealing with on my own, I got lucky enough to have Jonathan Arsenault be interested in playing drums with me, and Kenny Murphy playing bass. And once all that started happening, the songs started changing into like a band format, going from basically like the songs were kind of acoustic guitar-y, like folk singer-songwriter stuff, into kind of like this fast-paced, high-energy driven band, because they're so good, John and Kenny. Now we've made a record with Chad Viatar in Lafayette, who also kind of like took on the role as like our lead guitarist while he was making the record with us, and he wrote all these really incredible parts that also altered the songs in a different way. And now we have an actual record that is going to be released in January.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. So I mentioned before the Marigny Opera House show, right. A little orchestra, that was all kinds of, I guess, musician friends of yours. Tell us a little bit about what went into the thought behind that, how all that came together. I'm sure there was a lot of work involved, gathering all that up and the planning.
Yeah. So yeah, the Marigny Opera House is an incredible space. It's like basically a cathedral that these really awesome people allow people like me to basically do whatever they want with for a show. And it is an opera house, and I couldn't get that out of my head. And I've always really been inspired by classical music, and like anytime I hear an orchestra, I basically like cry my eyes out, and I can't handle like opera. Like that stuff makes me cry like crazy. It's just like some weird switch that like as soon as I hear it, I start crying. But I've always wanted to, I guess maybe it's just that I always feel very dramatic in my own mind, and to like function in society, you have to kind of dumb it down to not always be like consumed by your own like dramatic sensitivities. And I needed to put together a show that kind of like embodied all that, so I could like put it in a bowl and like just have it there. And so I started reaching out to all these people that are around town that I love their music, and I love the way they play, and they're also like share the same kind of sensitivities, and just asked them, and they were all just ready to do whatever they needed to do. And then I asked like a friend of mine who I knew had a bunch of had connections to cameras, and he was like, yeah, I'll just put together a film crew for you. And then another friend of mine was like, oh, I do like live sound, like I can live record every single instrument. So he showed up with like 20 microphones, and everything just happened in this crazy documentary, like beautiful way through just being involved in the community, and the community here just shows up for you and make stuff happen. So we did this orchestra show, and like it was kind of crazy because it was like the same day that it was the same like day for Dr. John's second line. So it kind of felt like a bunch of the community went to the Dr. John's second line and then came to that show, and it was just it was like a whole community experience that just blew my mind.
Yeah. That's a pretty cool coming together, and you know, I was fortunate enough to get to experience that, and when you're talking about bawling your eyes out for an orchestral thing, I was dang near. I didn't cry. I was on the verge of some tears.
Are you sure you didn't cry?
Hey, I didn't cry. Well, aside from these different bands and projects, we also have heard a little bit about maybe some organ work with something called Mosquito Eater.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So Mosquito Eater started while I was living in South Carolina for a little while. And I had, there's just like this multiple different Habitat for Humanities that just have a ton of organs in there for super cheap. And a friend of mine had opened up a thrift store, and she had this organ in there for insanely cheap, and I got it. And so it was just kind of like a piece of furniture in my living room for forever. And I used to be obsessed with Nintendo 64, so I kind of always am like living in a Nintendo 64 kind of dream state in my brain. Like that's kind of how I imagine things, like pixelated and like bopping around. And so this organ was kind of like a way for me to channel that side of me. And you make like Nintendo 64 dreamscape, like emotional songs. And so a few times when we moved back to New Orleans, I brought it out, which was like a huge deal to bring this giant piece of furniture out into the world. So I was like, this isn't going to be like a real project. This is just going to be a recording project. I'm never going to play this live. And then once I started my other band, my drummer, Jonathan Arsenault, was like, we should play these. I'll just play drums over the drum beat that's in the organ. And because it's got like bass foot pedals and arpeggios and little like mambo and like 16 beat and jazz rock and like samba drum beats on it. So he was like, yeah, I'll just follow along and like play along with the drum beat, but just like emphasize it more. So I all of a sudden had like a bandmate that could help me carry the organ from point A to point B. So that was like kind of huge, and like making it into like a live show thing, because I needed someone to help me carry this big beast. Which the organ's name is Josie. We named her Josie. I don't know why. It just felt right. Yeah. So yeah, and now we have Anthony Cuccia. He has a project called The Real Night Janitor, and or Night Janitor. And I've been playing shows with him for years, so he's playing synthesizer with us now. Yeah, and it's just fun. It's different. It's a different plane of music, and just a different way to express stuff.
Nice.
And it's fun. People dance.
That's pretty cool with the N64 soundscapes. I know that all these little consoles were a big part of everyone's childhood, and probably influenced us more than we know.
Well, we played Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Oh, there it is.
And Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, no way. Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, with all these, it seems like you're out there quite a bit, even more than I realized. But whenever you're out performing, have you ever had to deal with any kind of performance anxiety issues?
Yeah, I definitely, as many times as I do play shows now and think that I'm going to be over it, I still get, like, right before I play, I get, like, a little sick to my stomach. Mm-hmm. And there's multiple ways to deal with that. Some of them is just, like, go outside and, like, find someone you know and, like, have a conversation, or, like, go, like, take some deep breaths somewhere in a corner, or maybe take a shot of tequila, or, or just, like, get up there and do it. But, yeah, I definitely deal with anxiety for performing every time. And it's different every time.
That, that's good to at least let maybe people who are up and coming know that no matter how much you play, or how much you're out there, for how long, it's okay to have that come up, and you just find ways to deal with it, and it's there. Probably most musicians and live performers have some of that. So, well, outside of all this playing music all over the place, what else do you have going on? I know maybe the Pepper Lantern. Is that something you can tell us about?
I think so. So the Pepper Lantern is a vegan pop-up I've been doing with one of my old roommates and really good friend, Vanessa DeGrassi. She has a band called Rouge. We used to live together, and we both were just like, man, we've always dreamed of doing a speakeasy and just cooking food that we love for people and like feeding them and providing music and stuff. So in the 7th Ward for the past 5 years, we just had our 5-year anniversary. We've come up with a pretty short menu. About once a month we do this, and go around like finding local herbs and stuff to make everything with, and we've gotten to know a bunch of the farmers around town, and it's basically like, I almost feel like we are putting part of our musical selves into this, because a lot of the food doesn't really make sense, but somehow it still tastes good, but it's all thanks to because we buy all the stuff from farmers and they just grow really awesome food, and you can just put whatever on that and it's going to taste good. So yeah, and we've been doing that for 5 years, and we basically, it's like usually 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and people will show up and there'll be a band, and in between the band sets we have a record player outside and people can put vinyl on. Sometimes we'll put like a silent movie projecting on a fence or something, but all of our like dining room is basically comprised of furniture we found on the side of the road, and it's just this very mishmash kind of backyard speakeasy thing. So we're somehow still doing it.
What would you say your normal turnout is? Is it just kind of a couple of friends, or is it people that you know through the community? Is it
there's always like a small group of friends that always show up, but a lot of times we'll look out into the backyard and it'll be packed with people that we don't know. Wow. And we're just like, what is going on? Like, people are really showing up to this and like hanging out all night long. And there was one that we did where it started raining, and like monsoon raining, and the band was like running in, but then people kind of set up this makeshift tarp for the band to still play under, and like the band was still just like carrying on through, like, oh, we're gonna play like for this dinner. And then I think that night I had made like some kind of weird beet burger thing, and I just remember looking out and I was like frying stuff and cooking and like looking at orders, and then I looked outside and people were literally eating burgers that were like the bun was getting rained on, and they were just like still eating this like rain-soaked burger, and I was like, this is New Orleans. Oh my gosh, I love New Orleans so much. They will literally stand in the rain and eat a burger. Yeah. It was magical.
Sounds like fun. So how has being a mom affected your music?
In multiple ways. Before I was a mom, I could just kind of, play music in the room and stuff and practice all the time. And that's definitely different now, because my daughter wants to hang out. And whenever I'm playing guitar, she's like, oh, you're playing guitar? I need to be playing that guitar. And I need to, like, shred the gnar on some strings. And, or if I'm like trying to play a song, she's like, hey Mom, you should really be hanging out with me, not playing guitar right now. But also, it's kind of maybe like my songwriting topics have altered into a way of like, instead of having these pity parties of heartbreak and stuff, now it's more like I need to write a song to get amped up to be like a superhero warrior woman for my daughter, and like deal with stuff in a different way. So I feel like songwriting now, I'm not writing so much about the times that I'm like, "Ma, woe is me," which there's nothing wrong with that. That's great and everything, but now I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, I need to make it through this moment, and I need to make it through like strong. And so it's having a kid inevitably made me have that shift in my mindset, and just need to be super strong now. So it's funny because my songs used to be just so like sad, like, oh, this guy doesn't like me, or this world is so hard. But now it's like, this world's hard, we need to get over it. And so that's where I'm at now.
Nice. That's a good place.
Yeah.
So if y'all haven't seen some of the posters that Julie makes for her shows, they're super unique, super intricate. Tell us a little bit about where some of the poster designs come from.
Well, as you know, our parents are artists. Our dad is a potter, made this thing, made this.
All kind of stuff through our houses.
And then, yeah. Oh wait, let's do a little cheers. Let's do cheers. Cheers, Dad. This is Dad in the 80s.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. I have some of Mom's paintings up throughout the house, but
I'll put a little blip of a couple of them up right
yeah,
here.
yeah, we'll do a blip of Mom's paintings. So growing up around clay and paint constantly, I mean, I have like these very vivid memories of being a kid and like finding these like trash cans full of like glaze powder, and I just like dig my hands into it, and it was like softer than flour. But yeah, inevitably being around two artist parents and being not forced into like creating stuff constantly, but that's just like what our life was. So our grandfather was a sign maker in Leesville around Alexandria. So I just started, our mom got making the letters, professional letters for sign making and stuff from our grandfather, and I just absorbed that through the need to make posters to promote shows, and I've also just kind of always doodled around, and now it's just kind of, I need to make posters to promote shows, and there's a few artists around town that I love to, pay when I can to make posters, because their poster art is pretty much perfection. Like this one girl, super helpful. Her name's Lindsay Tomlinson. She just makes these really awesome posters. And then this other guy in Lafayette, Bert Durand, makes really incredible posters. Those are two of my favorites. But yeah, I just have a huge need to promote shows, and so yeah, I just started doing it so I could do it.
So I guess those designs maybe even kind of roll over into, I know you do like some shirts, bags, other kind of merch maybe that people can get at your shows a lot of the time, or other places.
I made this little shirt. I just like to stitch things onto things and do like multimedia. So I'll like paint on fabric and cut out shapes and then stitch them onto bags and shirts. And then I'll do stencils, a lot of like alligators and spoonbills, because I'm obsessed with the swamp and my area. So yeah, it's been great because I can just kind of like sit at my sewing machine and make kind of whatever, and then people are like, oh, I'm going to support and buy this, and then a lot of times I'm like shocked that they actually like it, but yeah, people relate somehow. Well, because it's alligators and spoonbills, and what's not to like about that?
That's right. Is there a particular song that you do that kind of means more, or that you like to play more live?
There's one that I have called Cardinal Feather, and I wrote it after I had a panic attack, actually. But it's kind of just the more like fast-paced, high-driven, kind of chaotic songs that we play. And it just feels the most like what I feel like internally most often. So I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% that that's going to be like the first real single off of this album that we've recorded. That's going to be, the single will probably come out in the next few months. So yeah, Cardinal Feather.
Next few months.
Mm-hmm.
So album in January, Cardinal Feather in a few months.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Nice. Who do you admire as a musician, or what kind of music do you listen to?
It kind of, so I listen to a lot of Karen Dalton and Vashti Bunyan, Harry Nilsson, but newer stuff, I've really been loving Bedouin and Andy Schaaf. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And then I have a new manager, but he's been my pen pal for 12 years. It's a very long story. I can't believe I've just intersected this moment, but he has a band called Minor Victories. It's really has some very beautiful songs, and Big Thief. Locally in New Orleans, I really love People Museum and Matron and TV Poleshine and my friend Ajayi and Bruzy Pete's and who else? Aurora Nealand, Helen Gillet. There's a lot. I mean, I can't just say one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is something that you listen to that might be kind of unexpected, given the kind of music that you play and the other kind of stuff you listen to? Something a little bit out there or silly.
I mean, this isn't necessarily silly, but I love Mariah Carey forever. I'm obsessed with Mariah Carey. I cover Mariah Carey. I don't know. Our sister exposed me to Mariah Carey, and we used to like ride down in Mom's Mustang with the top down listening to Mariah Carey. So it's like, I love Mariah Carey.
Speaking of our sister introducing you to Mariah Carey, the big speakers in the living room when we were growing up, Jessica put some Mariah Carey on that, and Mariah Carey had put a couple of different vocal parts down, singing a harmony with herself, and I was little. And she convinced me that Mariah Carey was this alien with big glossy eyes and multiple sets of vocal cords hitting these high notes and octaves, and I was just blown away.
That's like in The Fifth Element or something.
Yeah. Only it was before
like
The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And that's where my mind went. In
That's
The Fifth
actually
Element
probably
also.
true. Mariah Carey probably is that.
Yeah. We're going to get flashy thinged by the MIB now. So we just
Yes.
tell the world.
I would love, that's like a dream of mine to get like my memory erased. I'm in the black.
Yeah. The neuralizer.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we appreciate Julie sitting down and taking the time. Thank you very much. If y'all want to, I'm sure you can check out Julie on all her social media. I know she's always got some great Instagram material and probably some Facebook and other stuff. Where can people find you as far as social media goes?
I have an Instagram. That's Julie K. Odell. And on Facebook, I'm just Julie Odell. You can see me there on the internet.
Awesome.
So make sure you keep an eye out for redstickmusic.com, Instagram Red Stick Music, to find out all your local shows that are happening around Baton Rouge. They put everything every week onto a music calendar, so it's easy for you to go and figure out what bar you want to go to and figure out what show you want to go to. Check it out, redstickmusic.com.
Lay a heavy hand intended to stun like a great ocean wave, the hunt of a heron. If you wanted to stay, then I'll probably run, getting what you want, taking all that's left, lighting up the room. Now I won't come back. Disappearing act, disappearing act. It's easy to think this won't change a thing, but when you dig up a well, you alter a spring. Have I had this dream? Recurring theme. Is this just an act? What do you mean? Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Come on, let's go. Gasoline fumes. It's time that we grew apart and closer to. Open up your wounds. Rip the Band-Aid off. Lick it off the spoon. Run now, don't get caught.
Still recording for